Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back, and for another session of power modding. This is power modding for the 2240, 2250, and 2260 Crosman air guns. Now there are a lot of different mods out there that you can do, but today's mod that we're going to talk about, because I do have other videos where I talk about other mods. Now, for myself, of course, I never mod any of my own guns to go over 500. I just mod them to get as close as possible to that 500. Anyway, our latest mod that we've done and turned out just wonderful and a nice power boost was the Bolt Probe mod. Okay, this is your factory one here, and it's quite large in diameter, as you'll see. It's actually much larger than the diameter of a pencil lead. So quite large and quite restrictive. So when you put it into the barrel, you do tend to lose some airspace here. Now I'll see if I can clear this picture up for you so you can see it better. Okay, so that actually closes things off quite a bit. So you're gonna lose speed here. So we take our modified probe, which is actually got a diameter smaller than that of a pencil lead. Okay, so it's less than half the diameter. And we'll pop that in there. And as you can see now, we have a lot more airflow being able to be used now. So now we're not restricting the airflow. The more you restrict the airflow, the less power you have, and the more you allow the air to pass through, the better. Now, someone might say, well, why don't you just cut the tip off? Well, because then you're not going to load your pellet in front of the transfer porthole if you do that. Now, what you can do is you can peel this area back so that you still leave at least half of this amount of meat, and that's going to provide even more power yet than what this one alone does. So, because you have to have enough durability here for the O-ring to be changed on and off, and when you're pushing a pellet in, you want that to be solid, so you do have a little bit of room to actually play with peeling that back a little bit more. Now, some guys ask, well, what about extended probes? Well, I'm honestly not a fan of extended probes other than the new style. Well, it's not actually new. Crosman actually invented it a long time ago, and other guys have put that into practical use on the 2240s now, where it's a solid piece of metal turned out about yay long, and it actually pushes the pellet to start it into the rifling, to just start it in. Now, it also has a hole drilled up into that area because it's a hollowed piece. So it allows the airflow to go up and then shoot to the back of the pellet. The more force you can get to the very back end of that pellet first, the more power you're going to actually be able to achieve. So some guys have actually angled that hole in, and as such being able to make like a scoop effect. And that can work quite well in a lot of cases. Because what you want to avoid is what I call the T-bar effect. And what happens with the T-bar effect is you've got a stopper here. Now this is actually a very good modification because you haven't quite started into the rifling, so your pellet is just where it should be to get the air flow. And you would take advantage of a little bit longer probe to start into the rifling first for more accuracy. But in this case, you're keeping the probe length the exact same. You're only just changing the diameter here, so keeping the probe length the same. So you're trying to get as much power as possible. If you were to just add an extended probe onto here all by itself, yes, you're going to gain some speed in a sense, but you're also going to lose about 20 feet per second by having that already jamming in the pellet into the rifling first, because you're creating too big of an air pocket up ahead of here. So you lose power. So this is where I call it the T-bar effect, because you've got backwash to here and then up forward, and then your air current coming up. Okay, so it kind of makes like a small split back here and a bigger gap here, and then of course you've got whatever restriction you've got going here, which is why you have to equalize this hole here with the inside hole of your transfer port so that it matches as close as possible to the exhaust port hole on your valve. Okay, and so I never actually alter the 2240 valve exhaust port. There are valve mods inside you can do that would achieve more power with less work. Okay, so anyways, with this new little design of this kind of a probe modification, and this is just to a stock probe. You can do this with the probe that comes with the steel breech. Okay, and you know, because the handle just unscrews, right? So same probe really, it's just the screw-in handle. And I've modified these factory ones too to use a screw-in handle too. This was a modified stock one for a stock plastic breech. Some guys don't want the steel breech, but they want power. Well, you got to mod the stock bolt. Anyhow, so I thought I'd show you this. The gains are really good, you know, overall, and your gain is going to change by barrel length too. So if you take just a stock one here, and you got a 10-inch barrel on your gun, that's the only mod. You're looking at about 490 feet per second. Okay, is about what you should be getting out of that gun. Now, you modify this just with a 10-inch barrel in this, you're going to be popping about 510. Okay, probably 520. Depending on how much you get this diameter down and still keeping strength. I wouldn't take this diameter any smaller than what it is, because then it's not going to have the strength, and over time in use it's just going to wear right out or it's going to snap off. So you want to keep some meat there. So I recommend from the factory diameter about half of that. Take up about half of that diameter, or maybe a hair less. Okay, I went a little bit less on this one to get just a little bit more airflow. So it doesn't take much with a 2240 with a 10-inch barrel to get it popping over 500. So if you want to, you know, get a gun running 950 to 1,000 feet per second in a 22X platform and still being with a single bottle CO2, you can most certainly do that without any problem at all. And that's going to be dependent on your mods. So for those who want to or like to power mod for that kind of power and achieve that kind of power, yeah, it can be done. Not a problem. If you're going just after a bit more power, let's go with an 8-inch barrel and this modification, then you're probably going to be around that 500 range, or you're going to be in about 497, 498 with an 8-inch instead of having to go with a 10-inch. You know, so it just depends on how you want to do these mods and how close you want to tune that gun. And, you know, you're still going to have to go with a little bit longer barrel, because this 7-inch is really useless for power modding it. But anyway, thought I'd show you that. And if you have any questions, comments, feel free to ask, and you know, I'll answer them as best as I can. And we'll see you on the next video.